Hi, and welcome to Read to Me, Matt Dunn. I'm Matt Dunn, and I'm going to read to you. Chapter 5, Part 2. Dear, dear Elizabeth, I exclaimed when I had read her letter. I will write instantly and relieve them from the anxiety they must feel. I wrote, and this exertion greatly fatigued me. My body, I'm so tired from writing. Goes me. I wrote, and this exertion greatly fatigued me, but my convalescence. But my convalescence had commenced and proceeded regularly. In another fortnight, I was able to leave my chamber. One of my first duties on my recovery was to introduce Clerval to the several professors of the university. It's burping, man. In doing this, I underwent a kind of rough usage, ill befitting the wounds that my mind has sustained. Ever since the fatal night, the end of my labors, and the beginning of my misfortunes, I had received a violent antipathy even to the name of natural philosophy. When I was otherwise quite restored to health, the sight of a chemical instrument would renew all the agony in my nervous symptoms. Henry saw this, and had removed all my apparatus from my view. He had also changed my apartment, for he perceived that I had acquired a dislike for the room which had previously been my laboratory. But these cares of Clerval were made of no avail when I visited the professors. M. Walden inflicted torture when he praised with kindness and warmth the astonishing progress I had made in the sciences. He soon perceived that I disliked the subject, but not guessing the real cause, he attributed my feelings to modesty, and changed the subject from my improvement to the science itself, with a desire, as I evidently saw, of drawing me out. What could I do? He meant to please and torment me. I felt as if he had placed carefully one by one in my view those instruments which were to be afterward used in putting me to slow and cruel death. I writhed under his words, yet dared not exhibit the pain I felt. Clerval, whose eyes and feelings were always quick in discerning the sensations of others, declined the subject, alleging in excuse his total ignorance, and the conversation took a more general turn. I thanked my friend from my heart, but I did not speak. I saw plainly that he was surprised, but he never attempted to draw my secret from me. And although I loved him with a mixture of affection and reverence that knew no bounds, yet I could never persuade myself to confide to him that event which was so often present to my recollection, but which I feared the detail to another would only impress more deeply. M. Krempe was not equally docile, and in my condition at that time of almost insupportable sensitiveness, his harsh, blunt encomiums gave me even more pain than the benevolent approbation of M. Walden. Wow, these fucking words, man. Din the fella, cried he. Why, M. Clerval? I assure you he has outstripped us all. Aye, stare if you please, but it is nevertheless true. A youngster who, but a few years ago, believed Cornelius Agrippa as firmly as the gospel, has now set himself at the head of the university, and if he is not soon pulled down, we shall all be out of countenance. Aye, continued he, observing my face expression of suffering, as he's like This fucker over here is all like, he was a flat worlder, you know? This fucking idiot was like, the world's flat and I'm gonna prove it. And then we're all like, yo, get into the science. You can't do that shit. Get into you can't. 1,000 years ago, we thought the sun was some dude pissing on us, you know? So this guy's like, and then he's about to take our jobs. We better fucking look out. We better fucking look out, continued he, observing my face expression. M. Frankenstein is modest. Who calls someone M. Frankenstein? Like, M. Frankenstein is modest. M. Frankenstein. Who the fuck is M. Frankenstein? Was his name Victor? M. Frankenstein is modest. An excellent quality in a young man. Young men should be difficult of themselves, you know. M. Clerval. I was myself when young, but that wears out in a very short time. I'm gonna have to get another book and compare these words, because I don't think some of these letters are right. M. Krempe had now commenced an eulogy on himself, which happily turned the conversation from a subject that was so annoying to me. Clerval was no natural philosopher. His imagination was too vivid for the minutiae of science. Languages were his principal study, and he sought, by acquiring their elements, to open a field for He does fields open a field for self-instruction on his return to Geneva. Persian, Arabic, and Hebrew gained his attention after he had made himself perfectly master of Greek and Latin. For my own part, idleness had ever been irksome to me, and now that I wished to fly from reflection and hated my former studies, I felt great relief in being the fellow pupil with my friend, and found not only instruction but consolation in the works of the Orientalist. Their melancholy is soothing, and their joy elevating to a degree I never experienced in studying the authors of any other country. When you read their writings, life appears to consist in a warm sun and a garden of roses, in the smiles and frowns of a fair enemy, the fire that consumes your own heart. How different from the manly and heroical poetry of Greece and Rome. Summer passed away in these occupations, and my return to the Geneva was fixed in the latter end of autumn. But being delayed by several accidents, winter and snow arrived. The roads were deemed impassable, and my journey was retarded until the ensuing spring. I felt this delay very severely, for I longed to see my native town and my beloved friends. That's it. I longed to see my native town and my beloved friends. My return had only been delayed so long from an unwillingness to leave Clerval in a strange place before he had become acquainted with any of its inhabitants. The winter, however, was spent cheerfully, and although the spring was uncommonly late when it came, its beauty compensated for its dilatoriness. The month of May had already commenced, and I expected the letter daily, which was to fix the date of my departure. When Henry proposed a pedestrian tour through the environs of Ingolstadt, that I might bid a personal farewell to the country I had so long inhabited, I acceded with pleasure to this proposition. I was fond of exercise, and Clerval had always been my favorite companion in the rambles of his nature that I had taken among the scenes in my native country. We passed a fortnight in these perambulations. My health and spirits had long been restored, and they gained additional strength from the salubrious air I breathed. The natural incidents of our progress, and the conversation of my friend, study had before secluded me from the intercourse of my fellow creatures, and rendered me unsocial. But Clerval called forth the better feelings of my heart. He again taught me to love the aspect of nature and the cheerful faces of children. The cheerful faces of children! Blah! Excellent, friend. Excellent. How sincerely did you love me and endeavor to elevate my mind until it was on a level with your own. A selfish pursuit had cramped and narrowed me until your gentleness and affection warmed and opened my senses. I became the same happy creature who a few years ago, loving and beloved by all, had no sorrow or care. When happy, inanimate nature had the power of bestowing on me the most delightful sensations. A serene sky and verdant fields filled me with ecstasy. The present season was indeed divine. The flowers of spring bloomed in the hedges, while those of summer were already in bud. I was undisturbed by thoughts which during the preceding year had pressed upon me, notwithstanding my endeavors to throw them off with an invincible burden. Henry rejoiced in my gaiety, and sincerely sympathized in my feelings. He exerted himself to amuse me, while he expressed the sensations that filled his soul. The resources of his mind on this occasion were truly astonishing. His conversation was full of imagination, and very often, in imitation of the Persian and Arabic writers, he invented tales of wonderful fantasy and passion. At other times, he repeated my favorite poems or drew me out into arguments, which he supported with great ingenuity. Yeah, I got it right. We returned to our college on a Sunday afternoon. The peasants were dancing, and everyone we met appeared gay and happy. My own spirits were high, and I bounded along with feelings of unbridled joy and hilarity. Boom! Chapter fucking 5. Now we're going to read chapter 6. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy listening to my voice. And if you like listening to books, I'm going to keep reading the books. Please comment down below. Please do the commenting. I shall comment back maybe. You comment me, I comment you. On the comment. Let's get to talking. Alright, hey, thanks for coming in. I hope you made it this far into the video.